Welcome to Get Serious. So, another update to handle unexpected situations. We've had a deal in North Carolina that we were expecting to close this Wednesday. In fact, I had already signed closing documents, notary, everything. We were squared away. Very rural part of the state, not crazy activity there. And this was pretty low dollar purchases back. We were doing like $20,000 purchases right near our minimum. And we had actually gone under contract within a day, I want to say, certainly within a week of listing, maybe back in late April or early May, at just under 60 grand. So like near X on our money. And the buyer had, it was roughly a 6 acre property. They wanted to do, I think, a single split subdivide here. And we were supposed to close in mid June. The surveyor kept getting delayed. They had to find another surveyor. So we extended into early August, and at least this buyer, they had given us hard DD option money. It contributed to the purchasing price, but I was getting checks mailed to me directly. So initially they put $700 down for the first close, and then to extend, given the surveyor situation, they sent over another $700. So at least we had 14 down. Plus, they had a 2K EMD on file there, and then their final DD date was today, August 4th. Recording this early. I think you'll be hearing this following day. Either way, it doesn't matter. That is when the DD period was done, and we heard on that date that they were going to terminate the contract because they were getting too much pushback from the county regarding their subdivision plans. Really annoying because they had indicated like every step of the way their intent to close here, and like right at the buzzer before we would get their EMD, at least we have the 1400, but we were under contract for just over 90 days, like a big delay that now we're having to go back on the market. Obviously, we love to exit within a 90-day period is always the goal here. And, so they decided to terminate that. And now, we're back at like, okay, we're going to have to relist. Plus, again, not a huge hassle, but still, like I had to, go pay for our notary to come over and sign docs, et cetera, get all those sent back. Like title was all set to close. They had indicated there was every data point showing that buyers were all set to go. And, here we are. What can you do? But at least they did provide the survey that they had done on this. And so, as I was going back and forth with the brokers here, it's really tragic situation, unfortunately, because we were working with the office manager of our primary broker who had helped us out so much with this deal in the first place and really landed the deal. And then he was just like suddenly out of the picture. We heard it was some family situation, and his office manager was stepping in, helped out with that neighbor encroachment issue. I talked about this a few weeks ago. And then the broker had reached out to us and said that his wife had died, actually. Sudden cancer diagnosis, like really tragic situation. They weren't particularly old either, and obviously feel terrible for that. And was like, and he was saying, I mean, sorry, it wasn't as much in time. Like, you don't have to explain anything here. I mean, you can't imagine the turmoil there. And plus, we were all set to close. Like, hey, like, thanks for letting us know. Of course, take care of yourself. Your office manager has been excellent. Docs are signed. We're all set to close here. And then, all of a sudden we're back to square one. So we were starting to try to, suss out, what is immediate next steps here. And the office manager, we'll just call him John for now, was indicating, at least we have the survey. The survey indicated like it's a little over 6 acres. So we could potentially bump price with this in mind, because originally we had it like 5.78, I want to say. So at least it came back a bit more in our favor. But I had pushed back on that. So I'm like, that's really not much of an acreage bump. And, per our understanding was the market was still like pretty slow from what the broker was saying. Kind of both at the start and during this process. and the fact that, now we know there's some hair on the property because anybody else, other buyer who might be looking to subdivide is going to have um, issues to deal with, to the fact that, a buyer just terminated a contract to, not pursue it. Plus, like, it's a black mark on the listing because we've been pending for, 3 months, and now it's back on the market. Like, that's never a good look either. And, sometimes you'll see those listings that, property's back on the market, no fault of the seller. And we could put that there, but like, it's still like, do you ever feel good when you see that? Like, you don't actually know the situation. Why is it really back in the market? Okay, fine, but it still was sitting there for some reason, even if it is no fault of the seller. I think I said seller before. I meant to say seller. In any case, that's just never a good sign. So even if it is, indicated in good faith here, like, it's still a black mark against us. And like, if we don't want to be overly aggressive, we're already wanted to close on this property within 90 days. Now we're going to have to be on market for even longer. And so I wouldn't think it's like the best idea to try to bump price, especially when we think it's slower in general anyway. Plus, I was asking, okay, I'm not sure if it was in the contract exactly. I was trying to scramble through it, but, it wasn't necessarily a developer project where normally I would be like more hardcore including it within the contracts. I'm not sure exactly what their subdivision plan was. Like, they're trying to do a single split. Like, it's not anything crazy from like a DD side besides the survey and whatever they're doing with the county. And so I just asked, like, did they send over any DD? Did we have a agreement, tacit or written, that they would send anything over? And they did give us a survey for what it's worth. They spent the money on that. So that's certainly helpful to us regardless. And then I asked for a copy of the survey, and I saw it was like 9.8 acres, like roughly 7 exactly, which is like, didn't match up. Like, John was saying, just over 6. And I'm like, well, that's actually a huge difference, like closer to 7. Now all of a sudden, like, we're well over an acre in difference here. And the fact that we were listed for like just over 10K per acre, now all of a sudden it could make some sense. Plus the fact that we're armed with a survey too, that we could potentially bump price a bit more with this in mind. Like, when he said, just over 6 acres, I thought, okay, like a quarter acre difference, not going to really do anything. But over an acre, sure, at that type of, and that type of land specifically to, more rural areas where price per acre is going to be more reliable. And so, like, if we just bump the price from a per acre perspective, what we were previously listed at, like, it would put us like right around 71,000. But again, because there's some hair on the property, black mark of relisting again, I thought, okay, if we are going to bump the price, it could still be lower from a per acre level, but maybe halfway in between there, like right just under 65K instead to list. Plus, again, we did get $1,400 from the first buyer, so at least that offsets a little bit of the pain of having to relist again. And we kind of respectively at like, hey, we thought we were just about to exit this deal, and like, hey, we're aware, and Matt, or who is the name that I'm using for the broker, we're aware of his, more tragic situation, family situation, because he's been CC'd on these emails. Like, we're not sure what his involvement would be ongoing. Like, we're not counting on it, to be clear. But, if he wants to provide an opinion on what we could do here, like, we're all ears. And luckily he did respond like, hey, I'm back in the office here and there. I need to look at the market again. And I'll get back to you guys. So we're going to come up with a game plan. But I just wanted to share, man, sometimes these fires just come out of nowhere, and how to kind of quickly but decisively act and utilize the data that you have available to come up with the best plan forward here. Do you potentially reprice? What are the positive factors? What are the negative factors in relation to the goals of the property? What does the market look like at this time? Like, I've relooked at this market when there was that surveyor issue for this first buyer. Like, I just wanted to see, okay, where were we kind of at? Our land investor partner was considering, wanting us to look into potentially doing a subdivide ourselves, but like, the market just did not justify that in the slightest. And it still was pretty slow at the time. So But at the same time, again, we went under contract within like a week of listing prior. So it's hard for me to say on how much we really tested things out. Plus, we just, again, have a lot of room to work with on this market. So even if we do bump the price a little bit, like we have a lot of room where we could just cut if it's just not accurate or the market has worsened a bit since we first listed. So again, trying to balance all those factors plus the complex personal situations within the brokers working on the deal here and how we have to kind of rely on them as well with like an ongoing family situation, etc. So all of that is something that just had to be considered and kind of decided upon quickly here. But again, try to get all the key information to make a call and balance the pros and cons of how pricing might look like, and what can you do if deals fall apart. Sit around and cry over spilt milk, or it's like, all right, what's the next step to sort it out and move on for finding another buyer. All of that in mind, seriousland.capital for any of your funding needs. Land Daily Diligence Facebook group for zero cost review of your land deals, and landpricer.ai for most reliable land pricing tool on the market. I should be testing it as of today when you are listening to this episode, and I'll be at Unconference here very shortly. So take care, everybody. Subscribe and share. I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.